Welcome to the Women in Business radio show with Sian Murphy, connecting women in business around the globe.
Hello and welcome to the Women in Business radio show. I was so busy fiddling around with my phone there and taking pictures of us all, I almost forgot to put us on air. So, we are here, it's Thursday, we are going to be talking about doing your own thing, and do you know, it's just me and Adele today. Hello Adele.
I know, but aren't you scared? I'll take it. I'm on Instagram and we're trying to do this and go live.
Scared? What are we scared about? We're two women yakking.
We're doing our own thing.
we talk for goodness knows how long before the show, so I think we're going to be able to manage it, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hang on a minute, I just need to move my chair down because my arms are scraping on the desk. Won't be a mo. Hang on.
She's nearly there.
If I fall over, you can get me, won't you?
Hear the bump.
There you go. Oh, and see, now my arms will go under just about, but I can't reach the microphone.
There you go.
This is the problem, isn't it, with being 5 foot? Okay, let's move all of that down. So, and breathe.
Absolutely.
Okay. So, we decided that we're going to do a show on our own today, didn't we?
We did.
And it had nothing to do with actually not booking anybody in. We just thought it would be quite nice, just the two of us, to sort of have a chat about some of the things that we very often end up chatting about.
We do.
With our guests, often off air, and with other people that we're exhibiting with or we're working with in a private capacity. So, here we are, and we're going to be talking this morning about actually doing your own thing. And it's going to be about just a few examples, a few ideas, some of the things that have impacted on us as well, isn't it, as business women. So it's not all about what we found out with other people. It's about us as well. So a little bit of honesty there.
Absolutely.
So we're going to be talking about setting boundaries and what are healthy boundaries, and actually knowing what it is that you actually want. Whose rules are you following, and what beliefs have you got that perhaps aren't yours, and some ideas for how to say no.
Absolutely.
Because you do need to say no. And we've got a few quotes from other people that we've nicked. And we've got some book recommendations as well, haven't we?
We have.
So, do you think we ought to get going?
No, I think we should.
Yeah.
Let's do our own thing.
Are we going to do what we normally do? What have we learnt this week?
Yeah, we can. Yeah.
I wrote mine down. I've written them down somewhere else.
Have you?
You start.
You find the list.
I'll just go and rummage. I'll just go and rummage in my handbag, see if I can find some stuff.
Yeah.
Have you got anything handy?
I have.
That's
yes,
good,
definitely.
isn't it? Okay, you start.
So, do you know what? What I've learnt this week, I call it, and I think we've touched on this before, like systems and software creep. So I see something that I get a free trial and it's a piece of software and it does something. And actually what I realise, what I've learnt this week, is that I have Zoho One and there's lots of things in it. So do I really need all these other bits of systems and software? And the answer is no. I just haven't explored what I've already got, and I just pay out for the next shiny thing. So for me, my lessons learnt this week is stop paying for shiny things and look at the resources you've got. And do you know what, Sian? I've actually got all the resources I need. I just need to use them. That's what I've learnt this week.
I think a lot of it also is it's a really, really good distraction, isn't it? Do you know, I just love exploring new tools. I could spend days doing that. Absolute days. I get to the end of it, I'm totally distracted. I've had a wonderful time. I've learned how to use something. Do I really need it?
Exactly.
I possibly don't. But what a wonderful way to procrastinate.
It is, and do you know what? I'm not doing that anymore, and that was my learn. And I thought, to know, you look at the resources you've got. Actually, it's to be honest, it's when you want to buy something, even like clothes wise. I go shopping in my own wardrobe first before I go out shopping, because do you know what? 9 times out of 10, I've already got it, and that's the same with my business software and tools.
Yes, and I think it's also about accepting that unless you're going to have something built bespoke, and actually, do you know, really, for the majority of business women, you really don't need to do that.
You
know, I was in part of a business mastermind where somebody was showing me a CRM that they'd got funding to build. And, well, this is what they'd spent the funding on. And they'd built a CRM. It cost 10 grand, and it was basically sort of HubSpot, but the free version.
Yeah.
And I said nothing. I just oohed and ahed and said, oh, wasn't it wonderful? But, do you know, it really wasn't. And it had taken them an awful long time. They had to go through a procurement process and a design process, and they hadn't. When I looked at what it is they'd got, that I could say, oh, okay, they could not have got that from anywhere else. Actually, they could have got it from practically anywhere else. It really was nothing special. They just weren't used to looking online and looking at some of the tools that are available now. And the thing is, you're not going to find anything that's perfect for you.
No,
are
you
you?
won't. No.
But you can find something that's affordable.
Absolutely, and let those software people that do their thing, and you do your thing. And it may not be perfect, but do you know what? 9 times out of 10, it's okay.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It'll do the job.
Yeah.
So, what have I learnt? Well, I've learnt this week that I just have to slow down and plan. And I keep saying this, it's like I've never learnt the damned lesson, isn't it? But I do need to slow down and plan. And sometimes that sounds like, oh yes, I need to slow down and plan. But actually doing that is really quite a difficult thing to do.
I agree.
Because sometimes you're race, and you're in that sort of, that sort of habit of getting stuff done and racing around all over the place and sometimes not thinking about what you're doing, and activity, and you have to build something in to actually force yourself to slow down.
Break the cycle. And do you know what? Literally, as I was looking at the last couple of days, for me, I've had to stop at the weekend because I got to May, and for me, May is stabilise for that reason. Stabilise your business, do a plan, and I've actually put time in my diary to just plan and do, because again, and you think you do, but you get caught up. And I'm thinking, what the hell happened this week? I was going from meeting to meeting to meeting, and I hadn't done X, Y, and Z, and I thought, stop. Otherwise, you just keep going to the next shiny thing.
I think the key to actually forcing yourself to stop is to take yourself out to a different environment.
I am, absolutely.
I mean, that could be Starbucks.
Yeah, absolutely. I was thinking, I reflected on what you said. We've talked about it several times, and I'm actually going to take my laptop to somewhere completely different to do that, rather than in my normal place, because what will happen, I'll get distracted.
Yeah, to make sure you take enough books, enough paper and enough pens so that you can scribble and chuck stuff away. Don't just take your best notebook where you're going to write all your best notes in.
It's a working meeting, but just do it somewhere completely different, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do it on Sunday.
And that sort of, once you've jolted yourself out of your normal environment, it really does help. And plan it in and make it a nice trip. You could have lunch while you're out. It's a nice trip out, and just free flow. Just don't try. That's my other piece of advice: is don't try to structure it too much. But you do have to find a way of forcing yourself to slow down. Otherwise, you just end up running around again, don't you?
Absolutely, and achieving absolutely nothing.
So, what are we? What are you reading?
I am reading, and I've only got an hour of it left because I'm listening to it on Audible, is The Art of War for Women.
You're still reading that? Yeah. How many weeks are you going to have that for?
No, I only downloaded it last week. This is my first full week, and I will be finished by next week. It is really good. It's taken the overarching principles, but it's a lot of what we talk about, and that is boundaries, which we're going to cover today, but it's given it from a feminine point of view, and also... Again, it's not about having those boundaries. It's about making sure you plan. It's about making sure that you prepare and you have a strategy. It's focused on women, both in corporate and business. And yes, you go, I remember that. But actually, again, it is that has forced me to go on Sunday just by reading that. Sometimes we do need the reminder of the basics.
Yeah, we do.
We do.
I think you need to knock yourself off track. I'm just reading a story at the moment. I'm on just reading a fiction book. Crap. It's not anything in depth. It's not particularly deep and meaningful. It's just a mystery story. And sometimes I find that that's one of the best ways of actually sort of getting out of your business head and getting into a slightly different head.
Absolutely.
So where are we on tools? You're not going to mention Zoho again, are you? Have you got another tool? Or is that it? Is it Zoho or nothing? You're stuck now, aren't you?
I am. Only because I've simplified things. What have my tools, what have I used this week? Do you know what? My tool this week, I've built in, because I've got so much going on, and I'm just launched a club and there's some teething problems. The biggest tool I've built in this week is stopping for several 10-minute breaks for reflection, and that is getting outside. And that's probably the biggest tool that I've got. When I am in this level of where we've just gone live on something, things aren't quite always working. So 10 minutes of reflection, and I'm carrying that on for the next few weeks, especially for May while I stabilise. That's probably the biggest tool this week for me.
I can't for the life of me remember the biology and the science behind this, but yawning. Yawning before a meeting, yawning when you want to refresh. There's something that happens, I can't remember, I'll find out and put it somewhere. But actually yawning is a really, really good way of refreshing your brain and getting yourself into a slightly better headspace. Yeah. So, getting up, if you can't get outside, I mean, there are some people who literally can't go outside. So standing up, yawning, having a stretch, having a slow stretch, focusing on what you're stretching is also a really, really good way of just taking both a mental and a physical break. So, what else have I got? My tool it's a tool I haven't mentioned before. It's a tool I use a lot in the sort of core of my business for organising my events, and that's like Airtable. And it's a cross between sort of a spreadsheet and a database, and it's a really, really excellent tool, really good way of sorting your stuff. There's so much that you can do on it. But if you use spreadsheets at the moment, this is why I started using it. So I'll tell you why I started using it rather than tell you everything that it does. I need to organise exhibitors, speakers, all of that sort of thing. And one of the best ways to do that is to actually have it on a spreadsheet. But I would find when I went and sorted, so if I needed to interrogate that data, bearing in mind I sort of have hundreds and hundreds of exhibitors, if I needed to interrogate that data, bugger me, I'd press the wrong button. Somebody would disappear. I've no idea where they've gone.
They've gone.
Or when I did it wrong or whatever. And that was becoming a bit of a problem. My eyesight's a bit dodgy, my hands are a bit dodgy, I'm a bit dodgy, the whole thing. And so I'd press a button, all gone wrong. Airtable enables you to organise, sort and sift that data. It's in quite a graphic way as well. I don't mean graphic as in you can put like little porn men or something in the corner. It enables you to sort of quite easily see what you're doing. You can build colours in and all that sort of thing, as opposed to just having streams of data sorted in just a different way. You can actually group things. So that's why I started using it. There is a free version which has limited colours on it. I don't think you can use as many colours, but it's only about $30 a month. And for me, with what I do, that's fantastic. I also use it to gather all of the data for my forms. So if ever you filled in any information for the radio show or any of my events where you've sent through your profile details, that's what we use. So you can build forms on it really, really fast and send them out by link, or you can embed them. It's a super way of getting and organising information.
Like that.
So that's my tool for the week is Airtable. I did have a quote, but I don't know where it is. But never mind. I've got some quotes. I think we've got some quotes further down in the show, haven't we? As we start talking about doing your own thing. So I don't know about you, but I think so many of us have had experiences where we're sort of doing everybody else's thing, aren't we?
Yes.
And that could be from working in a corporate environment. It could be working in a not corporate environment. It could be working for somebody else. It could be something that you're doing at home. It could be pressures that are put on you at home. It could actually just be doing stuff that you feel you ought to do, even though you don't want to do.
Absolutely.
So I've been in that situation, and I sort of caught myself at it. Sometimes I still find myself in that situation where I'm not doing my own thing. I'm sort of doing somebody else's. And is that a sort of similar thing for you?
Absolutely, it is. And the way I was reflecting on this when we were talking about it for the show, so I left after 32 years of doing somebody else's thing, which is what I did in corporate, and then came out and thought I'm just going to set up my business and do my own thing. But you know what, Sian, really, I was just replicating that and listening. And actually, was I really doing my own thing? I was listening to other people, following them. And do you know what? 2.5 years out, I'll probably say I'm only now just starting to do my own thing. And that's probably been triggered sort of 5 weeks ago. And I just thought to myself, I got up one morning and I thought to myself, actually, I'm really, really going to do my own thing. So actually, I didn't start doing my own thing as I thought I had. It's been a journey.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and I think it's where we're learning, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I came from a corporate background as well, and I sort of launched myself out in business. No idea what I was doing, no plan, nothing. And I don't know, I just sort of followed along. But there's a learning curve, and along that way, there sometimes comes a sort of lack of confidence. And you're looking at other people, and you're thinking, okay, well, is that the way to go? And you're all right, then I'll do that. I'll do that.
They seem to be doing okay. I'll follow them.
I sort of said, I won't say I said yes to everything that came my way, but I sort of did. If anybody said to me, oh, would you like to do, or would you like to collaborate with, or can you do this, or can you do it for nothing? I'd go, oh my goodness me, isn't that wonderful? They want me to do stuff.
Absolutely.
And off I'd go.
I did.
And it's not until you've been through, I think, a particular number of experiences, but those experiences could be, they don't have to be when you started out business. It could be that you've got that experience coming along the way, isn't it? But somewhere along the line, I think you have to go through a journey where you know what you want, you know who you are, you know what you're doing, you know why you're doing it, and and I think this is so important, you know what you're not doing.
Absolutely. And that was a bit I didn't, well, like you, every time I got a comment, I was like, oh my God, someone's commented on my post, or can you come and do a live in my Facebook? Yes, can you do this? And I'm like,
oh yes, of course. Oh yes, that'd be wonderful. I'll do that.
All of that. And then all of a sudden my diary was like so full, and I'm like, am I really doing my own thing, or am I actually not? And you're absolutely right. But at that time, you sit in that world, that corporate world, and you have this vision that this is doing your own thing. But when you get out, actually, it's that you don't know what you don't know. And I think for me, I was just following other people and responding to other people because I didn't know any better. And then, like you said, and then it links back to the everybody is better than me, which is another topic we're covering. And that's what I thought. I thought I must be okay if they're asking me to be on. And I think then over time, and I've had good clients and not so good clients. I've been on good talk shows and not so good talks. And I think actually, I can actually say no. But for me, it's been a 2.5 year journey to get to where I am today.
Only 2.5 years?
Yeah,
I'm 10 years on, I'm still not there. I think part of the journey that I needed to go down, and I'm not sure if there is a way of making this quicker. I seriously, if you're listening in, I really do hope that there is. But I spent quite a lot of time thinking that I was a speaker. Yeah. And I spent quite a lot of time also thinking that I was a trainer. And in actual fact, I'm an interviewer. I'm not a speaker and I'm not a trainer. Both of those things actually quite wear me out. And I'm not a speaker. I can sort of speak at my own events, but I'm actually much better off organising other people to speak at my events. I'm much better at just organising the events. But I'm certainly, and I think this comes down to doing your own thing. Yeah. If you seriously need to do your own thing and you don't play well with others, I don't play well with others, you don't really either. Do you? We collaborate. We're collaborating here. We collaborate, but I don't do what anybody else tells me to. No. And I don't want to speak at an event where I'm told where I have to stand, where I'm told exactly how long I've got to speak and what I'm going to speak about, and send my stuff in 3 weeks beforehand and have set questions. And I don't want to be. I'm not like that. I'm quite spontaneous. So that's me actually doing my own thing, is I don't speak for other people.
And I like that because you're right. It's that role. So I came out thinking I had a role. What I was going to do was to coach. And actually, then I realised actually there's some of this I do like doing and some of it I don't like doing. And what I thought my clients would want is not actually what they wanted. So it was working. And when some of them said, well, I want this, and this, I said, well, actually, I don't want to do that. So absolutely right. It's that role and finding out then what I do want to do, what I don't want to do. And again, it's only been over the last 2 years, and coming into this year, I thought, actually, I'm now crystal clear on exactly what I work on and coach. And actually what I'm good at is creating communities, and then be able to get into that community and then be able to share my knowledge and coach and support. Hours and hours of one-on-one is not for me. But that's what I've realised, and that's where it's come from. And then when I look back in corporate, what I was good at was driving communities and driving forums and driving that mission. And yet I came out thinking I was going to be a coach. It's so
and that's because we look at other people, don't we? Yeah. Sometimes, and we look at what other people are doing, and we see, well, so-and-so's got a coaching qualification, or they've trained as this, and it really is. But I don't know how I don't know a way of making it any quicker.
No.
Apart from actually sort of learning on the job. Maybe if you'd have spent more time reflecting about what you were doing in your job, maybe if you'd have worked with a coach who perhaps had sort of teased out of you what you were actually doing when you were back in corporate, you might have got there quicker. But I don't know.
No, but the part of me is, I do it, even as a small child, it's really great, but I'm doing it my way. And even if I'd had a coach, Sian, my question to myself is, would I have listened?
Yeah, and that's the thing. Sometimes I think there are some people who need to get their fingers burnt and who need to learn. But let's start off on the one thing that I do know is that if you are going to do your own thing, you have to set boundaries.
You do.
And I read a wonderful quote the other day, and I can't remember who it was by, but it was basically, if you set boundaries and you have somebody who's sort of kicking back, who's complaining, moaning, kicking against those boundaries, breaking those boundaries, certainly if they're moaning, it's because they intended to or are already abusing your boundaries. And that is a big red flag.
I like that.
Because people who, if you say to, if I say to somebody, if I say to a business partner or something like that, actually, I'm not going to be working today, I'm not doing that, I'm turning my phone off because I need to regroup, I don't expect moaning. I just don't. That's what I'm doing. Yeah. And if you don't like that, that's because you're not getting your own way. Yeah. You're not getting your own way. And if you're sulking or carrying on because you're not getting your own way, you are abusing boundaries.
I agree. And you're right. And it's setting that boundary and saying that that's what I'm doing, setting that expectation. And then if they are kicking against that boundary, it's then don't give in. Just say, that's the decision, that's what I've made, and just get out there and leave them to have that moment on their own. I will not get drawn into that moment. I've made my decision, I've gone. Because the moment they go, well, okay, then, no, don't. And I hear so many women, particularly business, who set that boundary and then break it. And then break it because the person has pretty much kicked off.
Is sulking.
Is sulking, and they say, well, it's easier that way. And I'm like, is it? It's easier today, but not in the long term.
I'll tell you what, crying, weeping, showing off, all of that. I've known so many women who have given up business. I can't believe it. We're talking about this in this day and age. Given up business because their husband moaned that dinner wasn't cooked.
Yep. I hear stories. I still hear stories. And all the children haven't been taken to school. And then, again, within a session last week, I was talking about setting boundaries because they were talking about self-care. Well, I can't do that because I'm doing potentially school runs 5 days a week. And I said, okay, so can I ask a question? Why are you doing your school runs 5 days a week? Have you asked your husband to potentially do 1 or 2? Then you can put in your self-care. And then, yes, I could. And then they were talking to me and said, well, actually, he said, well, I'd love to then, potentially do that, and just like work for myself. So it was, and yes, okay, I'll do it. So again, it's that perception of explaining that when you do work from home or you are running a home business as a woman, that doesn't mean you're not working, and setting the boundaries around that. Well, you're at home anyway. And I find that is the biggest challenge for the women I work with and me just starting networking is setting that boundaries just at home on what working from home looks like for them. And that doesn't mean school runs 5 days a week.
I'm going to say it's not easy. No. If this is, if you've got children at home and you've had a partner and things have been trotting along and you've been behaving in a particular way and everything's been okay for the last 15 years, I think it is. It's not easy to stand up and go, no.
Yes.
Things are changing. I'm going to be doing X, Y, and Z. And it may well be that there are some very, very difficult decisions to be made. And I have seen women making those decisions as to whether they give up their business, knuckle down and cook dinner and go back to how things were, or whether they stand their ground. And it's to my mind, it's a very sad decision to have to make because you could be out of a home. You could have children and be out of a home. There are very, very difficult situations that some women find themselves in, so I'm not judging.
No, and it isn't. It's difficult.
Sometimes there are very, very difficult decisions to make. So it may well be that you can't stamp your foot and do your own thing straight away and move out, but I think you can make a decision to get a plan in place.
Yeah, absolutely.
And head in that direction. I've got a really good thing that I found on Pinterest, so I don't know who wrote it actually, which is a bit unfair because I've just taken a screenshot of it so that I can read it out now. And it's signs of a healthy boundary. So if you have set some healthy boundaries, what does this sound like? So I'm just going to read through them. And it's about saying no without guilt. It's asking for what you want or need, taking care of yourself, saying yes because you want to, not out of obligation or to please others, behaving according to your own values and beliefs, feeling safe to express difficult emotions and have disagreements, feel supported to pursue your own goals, being treated as an equal, taking responsibility for your own happiness and not feeling responsible for somebody else's happiness, being in tune with your own feelings and knowing who you are, what you believe and what you like.
Do you know what the one that stood out for me the most, and I hear it time and time again, is that responsibility for somebody else's happiness.
Yeah.
Why we feel compelled to sort that for somebody. And that could be it could be our family,
it could be a parent,
clients, it could be network, it could be anything, but we feel responsible for, making sure somebody else is happy.
I think one of the it's not just that, it's also that nobody else can make you happy. As individuals, we have to be responsible for ourselves, and there are times when we have to make difficult decisions and set very tough and hard-line boundaries in order to do that. But if you don't, what's the alternative? Is that what do you do? Compromise everything you ever wanted to do and believed in? Anybody that you have a relationship with who is okay with that, because they must know, mustn't they? Yeah. I mean, people aren't stupid. They must know that they have walked on you, stopped you doing something, if you like, downtrodden you and got you to do something that you didn't want to do. They must know that.
Yeah.
And anybody who's okay with that needs to be left. Sorry. I don't care who they are. Parents, partners, anybody who is okay knowing that you are doing something you really don't want to do and that you are really unhappy and is okay with that is really not very nice.
No, and it comes out to all of our stakeholders. It could be friends, it could be business partners, it could be clients. It's all of those, and it's for me. And I say, so for me, over the last sort of 2.5 years coming out, is setting that boundary and knowing what the boundary, and my own boundaries for myself. It starts with me, what my boundary is, and then I take those boundaries literally all the way out to all of my stakeholders. Because the one thing that stresses me out is if there's different boundaries for different stakeholders. Oh my God, that becomes a nightmare. So for me, I've got to set boundaries.
I tell you, how many times do you see people do that, where they let a particular client or a particular friend get away with that because it's them?
Yeah. And I had to stop doing that because it was just, I couldn't work out what boundary was with which friend. And I thought, this is giving me brain ache. Yeah, it's but for me, I couldn't even begin to do that until I'd set the boundaries with myself.
And there are some clients who, it's okay to WhatsApp at 8 o'clock and 8 o'clock in the evening or 8 o'clock in the morning and expect a response. Actually, it's not, and you have to sort of pull that back. How many clients can you manage? I think it's okay if you're working one-to-one. If you've made a decision to work one-to-one and you've got, you're charging them a squillion millions, then fine, okay. But if you've got 50, 60 clients and you want 100 clients and there are 2 of them that you're allowing to do that, where do you draw the line? Have you got 100 people WhatsApping you at 6 in the morning?
No, absolutely. And it's setting those boundaries. And then when you want to do something from a boundary point of view, like you said, I'm switching my phone on aeroplane mode and I'm going to do X, Y and Z. And do you know what? Once I've done that and I switch it on aeroplane mode, I will then just batch up the messages and respond. And nobody has died or no system has broken. And if it has, like the other day, then somebody stepped in for me and it was fine. somebody stepped in for me because I had to go on aeroplane mode for a few hours, and somebody stepped in for me and sorted the problem out.
Do you know, it's never that bad, is it?
No.
Really?
No.
We always think, we sit at one end and we, oh my God, I'm going to have to turn my phone off. I'm going to do this for the day. Actually, it's fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
Nothing.
I don't worry me anymore.
We're not as important as we think we are.
No, and I do switch it off more and more.
Nobody cares.
Nobody cares. And do you know what? I'm actually not that important.
Actually, I'm now going to do, because I use Zoho one as well, and something I have started using recently is Zoho bookings, which is a bit like Calendly, where you can set times and how long stuff is for, how long you're going to have a meeting with somebody, and how that meeting is going to happen, all of that sort of thing. And you can just send a link to people and they can book it.
Yep.
And that's it.
I love it. I've got that. Absolutely.
Otherwise, you have little 15-minute, half-hour conversations with people ringing up, and you need to speak to them. I need to speak to people. You know, it's not me being precious. I need to speak to people. But if I have 10 calls in the course of a day, all of them 15 minutes long, that's actually really, really disruptive. There's no time for deep work. There's no time to switch off and actually think and do that planning as well. Yeah. You know, I can't plan with the phone ringing.
No. And again, I've got a certain slot in my diary a week. I've got my link, and people, if I meet, can I book? Yeah, here's the link. But pop into the diary. It's open. It suits you, suits me, and then I see the bookings coming in if they really want to speak to me.
So I've got a book recommendation here, where, because being practical, and we've all been in these situations where actually, you don't want to do something, and you'd love to say no, but you also want to help. Because it's somebody that perhaps you like. It may be somebody that you don't like. But you feel, we're all human beings on the planet, aren't we? So it may be that you do want to help. You're just not going to help in the way that they want it done. So there is a book called What's Your Problem by Thomas Adelle. And it's about reframing your problem, because very often there is a different way of solving somebody's problem where you have been able to help, just perhaps not in the way that they wanted you to. And if they're not happy with that help, you may need to consider whether they are actually quite controlling, and whether they wanted the help or whether they just wanted to do the controlling. But what this actually does is it reframes the problem and perhaps gets you and everybody else to look at it in a slightly different way. So whereas before there was one, there was one solution. So it could be, can you look after your grandson for 5 days a week while somebody else goes out to work? Actually, no, I can't. Or can I move in with elderly parents and move in? No. But there may be another way of looking at what that problem is and finding a different solution.
Absolutely. And you're right. And it's similar to that when I'm working with somebody, I say, what's the problem you're trying to fix? Because sometimes we generally get so fixated on the solution and asking for help. I say, okay, just give me, I can't help you. I need to understand the problem. So really, what's the problem you're trying to fix? And when they start to open that, I say, okay, so why is that important? And a couple of additional open questions. And I say, actually, right, okay, I understand what you're trying to solve now. Well, actually, that isn't me. I would refer you to X, Y, and Z. And that is a simpler conversation. And then it shows a no with respect, and you've also helped them.
Because you can't always do what people want. And it's as simple as that. And very often people will come to you with the solution that they've already identified. So the solution, and I have to say, the example that I'm using isn't one from my own life. I wouldn't want to use ones from my own life. That'd be too horrible. But somebody may have come to you and said, I need you to babysit for 5 days a week. Well, actually, they don't. They have a childcare issue. That doesn't, so they've come to you with their solution, which involves you doing something.
Yes.
There may well be another solution that you may or may not be involved with, but that you can help guide them to. So you're helping, but you're not sacrificing. And I think there's a very, very big difference.
Absolutely. No, there is. And that's then having the courage to just stop that person and ask them a bit more around the problem. And so, well, actually, it's not me. It's I can help you with. Like you said, it's a childcare issue. It's not me babysitting. I think I can help you with this.
Yeah.
So important.
I think the other thing that we need to consider is it's not just about boundaries and saying no. I think sometimes we stand in our own way of not doing what it is that is actually our own thing, because we don't know what our own thing is, and it could be that we've reached a particular time in our life and we're still not doing it. We may have an inkling as to what it is, but there are loads of excuses. There's lots of things we've come up with. We may not know what it is we're supposed to be doing. We may be hiding from what it is we're supposed to be doing because it's quite scary.
Yeah, I was going to say, and that's where we go in. We start with all the yeses because we don't really know what our own thing is. And then when we do find out what our own thing is, and then we switch to no's, the people around us get very confused. Because they're like, you didn't say that last week. And then people, is it your age? Is it? I have to. Do you know what? I cannot not bring in the M word. But it's the menopause. No, it's you. Actually, it's you.
I don't like you, and I don't like what you said.
I don't want to work with you anymore. That's the bottom line of it. But again, I explain to people, actually, do you know what? Thank you for that offer. And yes, I worked with you a year ago, but I've really understand what I'm doing now. I'm building a community. And as much as that's a great offer, it doesn't align with my community. What they would do is drag me an hour into the diary that I'd have to prepare a set of slides for that is fresh that I haven't got. And then that creates all the work. So it's not just about going and talking. You and I know it's the prep in advance.
Yeah.
And that's where I've learned to say no. But I've also learned to explain why I've said no, so people don't think I've gone crackers.
Yeah, and it's nice to say thank you, because it's flattered to be asked.
Yeah, it is.
But you have to, I think, have very, very clear boundaries, really clear boundaries. I've recently been presented with an opportunity which does involve a community. And I have got to, and am going to say no, even though it is a really good opportunity. I can't fit into somebody, I can't carry on something that somebody has created, because I wouldn't have done it like that.
No. Yeah.
So it doesn't matter how big the list is, it doesn't matter how big and vibrant the community is, it's not mine.
I agree. I absolutely agree. And again, I probably wouldn't have said that 2.5 years ago. I would have been, oh my God.
So I know. And I'm saying exactly the same thing. I think 5 years ago I would have gone, oh my God, I get to do that.
Yeah. But now, 2.5 years, no, I'm going to build my community my way from the bottom up and just do that. And thank you, it is a nice offer, but it's not for me.
And initially, I have to say, I almost said yes. My gut reaction was almost to say, oh my goodness, how fantastic. Wow, yes. And I stopped. And I think that's a really good way of approaching all sorts of things. It doesn't matter what it is, but where there's a reaction that you can feel the reaction is building, and I'm going to say something, sort of 3 seconds after something's happened. That could be dealing with a complaint, it could be somebody being nice to you, it could be somebody being horrid. It doesn't really matter what it is. You're about to take a reaction. Is to take that step back, take that step and actually think it through and actually plot it through. And I suddenly thought about myself sending emails, doing stuff, making calls within the structure that was already there, and trying to stick to that, but alter it slightly so that it was a little bit me, but not entirely me. I thought, I can't work like that.
No. And I've had to put in a 4-day rule, because I want to help everybody, and I do like to people ask me, I'll have a think about that, and I go, I could do this, and this. But what I've had to do is put a 4-day rule in where I sit, I reflect on that, and more importantly, I get out my vision and go, it's not on the plan.
Where is it on there?
It's not on it. And it's not on it.
No.
Because in that moment, when somebody catches you, when you're flying into a network, Adele, you're great at doing this. Oh, thank you, let me have a think about it. And I have to say that, because that Adele will go, yes, I'll do that for you. But actually, the 4 days, and then I get the plan, no. And I can say no, because I got caught out very early on by taking all of these offers on, and actually they weren't really on my plan. And then I got diarrhea, and I got caught into all the issues I am. And it wasn't because I didn't have boundaries. It was because, like you said, you start off, you're building your confidence, you get flattered. And then once I really crystallise that vision, then that's it. That's I go to the plan. So it's a lovely offer, but the answer is no.
I've got here a thing from Brené Brown, which I took a screenshot of this morning, and I'm going to read it out in a minute. But I think let's start with where I think it fits in what context it is that as long as we've reached a certain age, doesn't matter when that age is, it could be 10, couldn't it?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
No.
And you think, actually, I'm not quite sure, this doesn't feel right, there's something that isn't quite right. But you carry on.
Yeah.
And you carry on and you distract yourself. And I think it's quite difficult to sit down and reflect on, what is it that you actually do want. Sometimes you just don't know what you want because you're looking within parameters that have already been set for you or that you've set for yourself. Could be part of growing up. It could be limiting beliefs, things that people have said to you. It could be things that you've seen on the internet that you think, this doesn't, I can't do that. That doesn't apply to me. It could be that you're following somebody else's rules and you don't even know what those damn rules are. They're just in your head. But it's not happening. And the years go by and there it is, you still haven't done it. And I saw this by Brené Brown, and unfortunately I've missed the first bit of it, but I think it's designed for women who sort of reach an age where they've done all of the young stuff and it's time to do something different. And I think what she's saying is the universe has got its hands upon your shoulders. It pulls you close and it whispers in your ear, I'm not screwing around. All of this pretending and performing, these coping mechanisms that you've developed to protect yourself from feeling inadequate and getting hurt, has to go. Your armour is preventing you from growing into your gifts. I understand that you needed these protections when you were small. I understand that you believed your armour could help you secure all of the things you needed to feel worthy and lovable. But you're still searching, and you're more lost than ever. Time is growing short. There are unexplored adventures ahead of you. You can't live the rest of your life worried about what other people think. You were born worthy of love and belonging. Courage and daring are coursing through your veins. You were made to live and love with your whole heart. It's time to show up and be seen.
Daring Greatly by Brené Brown.
So it's time to show up and be seen. And if you can't find a way to do that, you just can't find your own. You can't do your own thing. And it doesn't matter whether you're in business or not. Actually, does it?
No, it doesn't. It starts at the centre of you. Starts at the centre of your life, and then it is all encompassing. And I'm talking to more and more women that are actually saying that's how they're feeling. That actually they want to step into their power. They want to do this. They want to say no, and they want to build these businesses. At the time where actually, like you said, all their roles and responsibilities have diminished. And that gives you a sense of it's just me or just us with a partner. And then you start to discuss what you want. And then there might be a disconnect. And then it could be a disconnect with a business partner or clients because you want to change your direction. It's okay to have disconnect with those people around you. It's then having the courage to say, actually, I'm going to change my course and my direction because this is what I want to do.
And sometimes I think we're not careful. We invent problems in our heads. So we've invented an objection that's being said. We can, and it's about getting aware of the voice in your head. And sometimes you may find that you're actually having a conversation in your head with somebody and they're objecting. And that's not going to happen in real life. You have no idea. You sort of need to try first off and see what happens.
And have those brave conversations. Yeah, and have those conversations with people because actually it might not be as bad as you think. And are you having those conversations in your head because you're actually scared to do what you're doing and you're making the next person be an ogre when actually they're not? It's easier for you to blame somebody else for not doing something
than to blame. To say actually I didn't have the courage to do that. Yeah. It was so somebody else. They wouldn't have liked it if I'd have done that.
Yeah, or the children need me, or someone needs me, or my parents need me, or the dog needs me. Anything,
but I've got to do this scary thing.
Yeah, exactly. And it is having that. And why? Because we're worried about what people think and, we're worried about not being good enough and all those, which then just a little bit of imposter syndrome. But for me, if you start with what you want to do, you've got your boundaries, you've got your belief and your rules, then start to build on those. And like you said, this doesn't come overnight. For me, yes, it's been a journey all the way through, but the last 2.5 years when when I thought I was doing my own thing, I've then started to really understand what my own thing is. I realise now, I thought I knew what my own thing was, but I was thinking about that in the constraints of the corporate world. And you have to learn to be decorporised, not even a word, is it? You know, to decentralise whatever it is. And when you do come out on your own, that's how I've grown into doing my own thing. I really didn't know what that was while I was still constrained by corporate.
I think we always come to things in that context, though, don't we? It can be quite difficult to break out of that. So, you know, if you've been a mum at home and you haven't worked or you haven't run a business or you don't know anybody who's run a business, you sit there and think about perhaps what you want to do, but in the context of your own experience. And social media, to some extent, you think, well, that should make it easier, shouldn't it, to go out and have a look and see what's out there and what other people do. But it doesn't in many respects, because all you're doing is looking at the highlights of people's lives.
Yeah, they don't show you the truth.
You're not looking at people going out there and go, oh, God, I did a launch and it was terrible. I wrote this book, it was absolute crap.
You bought it. No, you don't. You don't see that.
That's not what you say. That's not what you see. I think perhaps one way of doing it can be difficult, I think, to sit there and go, hey, this is what I want, when you don't know what the possibilities are.
Yeah, that's very true.
And sometimes I think the way to get started is to sit down and go, actually, I don't want this.
Yeah, absolutely. Work out what you don't want. And that will come as you start to do your own thing and you think it is, and you actually, like me, I'm going to do this. Oh no, actually, it's not quite what I wanted. It's not what I thought it would be. So therefore, that's a no. So how I've come to doing my own thing is just by going through a little bit of trial and error, really. No, yes, no, yes, to get to now shaping up what my own thing is.
Yeah. What don't I want?
Yeah.
You know, what have I had enough of?
But you've got to try and try before, you know, you've got to have a go and expect things not to work and don't feel right to actually, no, that isn't what I want. And then that way, when you do find something that works, it feels, obviously, yes, that is what I want. It's a hell. I always say it's either a hell yes or a hell no, but that is driven by what I've got on my vision and my plan.
And you have to have some idea, don't you?
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, and we can sit here and say that as much as you like, but sometimes I still don't know what I want. You just have to sit down and sort of let it evolve.
Absolutely. And you also have to be careful that, you know, just by gently, slowly away, people chipping away at you of what they want and not really. And actually, I thought, I called it like drift. I'm thinking, actually, that's a year later. I don't think I agree. No, it's not what I want. How did I get here? Because it's slowly but surely you've got a bit of drift with clients or teams or products and think, actually...
Or you're being manipulated.
Yeah. You're being manipulated. And actually, this isn't what I want. Actually, how did I get to here a year later? This is not what I want.
Sometimes you have to put your really sturdy pants on, don't you? You have to pull up your big girl pants. But before you can do that, you have to have those boundaries set. This is not what I want.
Yep, you do. And be prepared to keep sharing those and talking to people around you, your stakeholders, your business partners, everybody, and saying, look, this is what I want. And you've really got to hold that belief and hold that nerve. And you may have to keep having repeated conversations with people. They'll either get it or they won't.
Actually, I'm not sure that you need to have repeated conversations with people. I think you need to say... I saw a wonderful quote the other day that says, no is a sentence.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
I'm sorry, no. But no, I don't want to do that because, well, I can't think of something to do that. Actually, no. I mean, you can maybe be a little bit more polite than that. You don't have to slap them with it, but actually, no.
No means no.
I think no does mean no, and I don't think you don't have to offer an explanation. You don't have to say why. You may want to, depending on the relationship. Sometimes it helps you as well to say no because it helps you clarify something. Yep. If you're talking to somebody who's genuinely helpful and wants what's good for you, wants to help you through, at a bit of a path, then actually discussing no, I don't want that because of X, Y, and Z is really is a really good way to go. Other people, you're just not making excuses. You're justifying a decision. You don't have to justify a decision. If you've said no, that's it.
Yeah, and just say, no, this is my decision, and stick with that. And sometimes for women, sometimes we can find that a little bit more challenging. If people are, like you said, if people are then coming back and having a tantrum, or the client says, right, I'm not going to pay you, and all of those things.
I mean, it's really hard, isn't it? But you have to say, okay.
Okay, don't pay me.
Thank you very much. Bye bye. Bye
Don't pay me
bye.
then.
Bye.
Goodbye. And and
I never say. I always say, don't say good luck, because it's.
Yeah, you said that the other week, didn't you? Good luck.
It sounds like trying to find somebody else that's going to do it as nice as that.
Good luck.
I think before we go, we just need to have a little bit on limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
Because all of us have these. It doesn't matter who you are. You will have some belief that you may not even be aware of that is going to hold you back. It could be because of something that was said or done in your childhood. It may have been completely innocent, but it sort of stops you moving forward. So I have, when I'm working with people, sort of something that it would normally go a little bit longer than this, but you can try this for yourself. So if you're finding it difficult perhaps to get clients, or whatever it is that you're struggling with, so say you really would like to run your own business, but it's just not happening. Try saying really, really fast without even thinking about it. So you'd start off with what it is you can't do. Like, I can't run my own business because. You have to start off saying that, and you just carry on the rest of the sentence and see whatever comes out of your mouth. And it may make absolutely no sense at all. It may be something like, I can't run my own business because Uncle Fred was a Wally or something. It doesn't matter. You see, who knows? It doesn't matter. It's something that's inside of you, and you sort of need to get it out. And very often it's utterly ridiculous. But it's there and it's holding you back. And once you identify those, life becomes an awful lot easier.
Yeah.
So find a way of finding those limiting beliefs.
Absolutely.
Have we got one final tip for doing your own thing?
I would say, if I said, what was the one thing that has really enabled me to do my own thing, and that is setting the boundaries, Sian. I think setting the boundaries, and if we set those, then and that starts with yourself. If you set those first, I think the other elements will flow through for me.
And for me, I think it's got to be knowing what I do well, the one thing that I do well, and just focusing on that and saying no thank you to what might look like an opportunity. It may well be for somebody else, but it isn't for me.
Love it.
So that's it. We are off, folks. We are going to be back, actually very, very shortly, almost sort of in the blink of an eye, in the next show. And we're going to be talking about everyone else is better than me and other crap that needs ditching. So, so thank you very much for listening to us. We hope you're going to be going out and doing your own thing. From Sian and Adelle, we will see you shortly. Bye.
Tune in next week to the Women in Business radio show for more stories, ideas and inspiration to help you grow your business.